Good morning from the U.S. Embassy in Kingston, Jamaica. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, and welcome to Consular Conversations. My name is Camila, and I'm going to be your host for today. Before we get started, we're going to ask our guest, Bill, just a few questions. So, Bill, how long have you been here in Jamaica for?
I just arrived here in Jamaica in June to take over the American Citizen Services Unit here in the embassy, and I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Great. And how have you enjoyed your time thus far?
I've really enjoyed getting a couple chances to travel with the restrictions that are in place still, but I've had a few chances to get out for work reasons to get around the island and visit some of the different communities. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Great. I'm very happy to hear that. So now that we've, talked a little bit and given people some time to get on, we'll just do another quick re-intro. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Consular Conversations. My name is Camila, and I am your host for today. Today, we are joined by our new American Citizen Services Chief, Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we have not had someone from ACS in a little bit, so I'm sure our audience is going to have a lot of questions for you. But before we get to those questions, we always like to go over our current operating status. So if you don't mind telling our audience what the current operational status in the consular section is, please.
Of course. So the consular section is open for limited visa services at this time. We're constantly adjusting our operational posture to meet our resources and our abilities to provide services to as many applicants as we can, while complying with the Jamaican government's regulations and requests for social distancing, no travel days, etc. We continue to process small numbers of immigrant and non-immigrant visas. We're communicating directly with our immigrant visa applicants on scheduling their appointments. Sadly, we're not able to offer routine tourist visa appointments at this time, but we are accepting the renewal of those tourist visas for people that meet the requirements for the interview waiver program.
Thank you so much, Bill. So why don't we go just quickly section by section. We'll do ACS last, of course, since that is our focus for today. But for the non-immigrant visa section, so I believe at this time they are offering limited routine appointments, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So certain visa categories that qualify under the conditions that we're in are being offered services.
Mm-hmm.
There's also exemptions being made for people who have a real critical, dire need to travel to the United States. Mm-hmm. People who have death in the family or a serious illness or injury. Of course, we're always trying to be as compassionate as we can with the circumstances we're under. We encourage anyone that has that sort of situation to please reach out to us as soon as they can to Kingston NIV at state.gov to let us know what's going on and make that request for an exemption to our limitations at this time.
Yes, exactly. And so at this time, for those who have previously scheduled appointments, we are honoring those appointments right now. Of course, we are again restricted to local conditions, and we apologize for the inconvenience that has caused many people in scheduling of appointments, but we do have to abide by the government of Jamaica restrictions right now. But as Bill mentioned earlier, we are, of course, doing our interview waiver program. So if you have a visa that has expired in the past 4 years, that's 48 months, then you are eligible to send us your passport for visa renewal through mail. So if that is an option that you can exercise, we would strongly encourage you to do so. Okay. Bill, I can very quickly go over the immigrant visa section. So currently, of course, the immigrant visa section is offering an extremely limited number of appointments each day. However, we are now starting to open up availability for those visas, or I should say those cases that were being held at NVC for those individuals who were documentarily qualified. So we know that many of you have been documentarily qualified for a number of months now, if not over a year. And, because of local conditions, we have not been able to, unfortunately, accommodate those cases. But now we are starting to schedule those cases. So please look out for the email for if your case has been scheduled through the embassy. And once again, we are only offering a limited number to MVC, but we are offering those appointments now. So Bill, I think it's time to get to our topic of the day, ACS. So when it comes to the American Citizen Services, what would you say it is exactly that our American Citizen Services unit does?
So the American Citizen Services unit here and our consular agencies in Montego Bay and in the Cayman Islands are here to provide both routine and emergency services to American citizens and their families. On the routine services side, we're talking about helping American citizens apply for passports, either their first passport or to renew a passport that has recently or is about to expire, as well as registering things like the birth of a child overseas to American citizen parents. We also provide, on a limited basis, notarial and documentary services for American citizens. When we're talking about emergency services, we're talking about things like providing assistance to American citizens who have run into financial difficulties. Of course, the first thing they should do is reach out to their friends and families for direct support, but we do have ways to assist when Americans find they have no other options available to them. We also provide assistance to the families of American citizens in the unfortunate case of the death of an American citizen, as well as providing assistance and information for arrests and hospitalizations.
Great, thank you, Bill. I think that gives a really great overview of what it is that we offer here at Embassy Kingston. So we know that one of the main concerns for especially our Jamaican and American dual nationals has been the availability for passport interview. So would you say that that is still the case?
It absolutely is, and it's something that we're working every day that we can on accommodating as many routine renewal and first-time passport appointments as we can. However, we understand that our American citizens are still very interested in getting their documents renewed as quickly as possible. Because of that, we're excited to announce two important programs that can help our American citizens get their passport quickly or travel to the United States in case they have an expired passport. So for Americans who have a full validity, that means 10 years for an adult or 5 years for a child, passport that has recently expired, that means expiring since January 1st, 2020, we are happy to announce that those Americans can travel to the United States on that expired passport. There's a couple other qualifications you can find out about on our website, but in general, that's one option that our American citizens can use to still be able to travel even if their passport has recently expired. The other program that we're very excited for is, for the first time, we're able to accept renewals of US passports completely by mail without the requirement that the American come into the embassy. So for that, our Americans can renew their 10-year passport if it's about to or has recently expired by mail. Please visit our embassy website at jm.usembassy.gov for the step-to-step guidance on how to go through that, applying for and paying for the service totally through the internet.
Yes, thank you so much, Bill, because I know before individuals would have to book appointments because it could only be done in person.
Right.
So now we are so happy to offer this mail-in option. And especially for those who have been given an appointment in the future, but would like to still renew it via mail, you can, of course, exercise that option.
Take that choice at your convenience and move ahead in line by applying online.
Perfect. And Bill, what advice would you give to an American planning on visiting, or probably more relevantly, anyone who has American family planning on visiting? What should they do before they come to Jamaica?
So there's two important things that we always recommend that American citizens do before they consider traveling overseas. The first is to go to travel.state.gov to find out more information about the conditions, current events, and warnings the State Department has about travel to any country around the world. Here in Jamaica, currently we're advising American citizens to avoid traveling to Jamaica because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But for any country around the world, it's always a good advice to start with some research. If an American citizen is going to be traveling to a country overseas, we recommend that they register with the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. That's at step.state.gov. This is a website where the American citizen can register where they're going to be and how we can get in contact with them. So in case of an emergency, they can receive information from their nearest U.S. embassy or consulate, and we can have their contact information to get in touch with them if there's an emergency.
Yes, and as Bill said, that STEP enrollment program should be used anytime an American travels overseas. So of course, when they travel to Jamaica, we would love for them to do it, but really anytime they do it, they should enroll for the STEP program. I think for everyone's safety, really, and also to find out about local conditions, because they do receive alerts on local conditions, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And Bill, I believe we also provide services to the Cayman Islands, correct?
We do. So we have, in addition to the U.S. Embassy here in Kingston, we have 2 consular agencies. The first is in Montego Bay, providing assistance to American citizens on the north and western side of Jamaica. And we have a second consular agency in the Cayman Islands. These facilities are staffed by embassy employees who are there to provide, accept passport applications, provide information and assistance in filing for other forms of assistance, and conduct the sort of in-person assistance and checkups that would be difficult for us to be able to engage from Kingston.
Thank you so much, Bill. So I think in general, a lot of the questions that we receive from our American citizens right now are American citizens that are placed into quarantine after receiving a positive test. So how is it that the U.S. Embassy can assist those Americans?
So once again, our best resource that we can provide to our American citizens is information. We can explain to an American citizen calling in or writing into us about how the Jamaican government's quarantine policies work. What we can't do is we can't help Americans skip ahead in line or get around the requirements that are in place. Whenever an American citizen tests positive for COVID-19, regardless of whether or not they're feeling or experiencing symptoms, our recommendation is to comply with the Jamaican government's regulations and work with their hotel or other accommodation and the local Ministry of Health to fulfill their obligations and adjust their travel until they're cleared by the Jamaican government.
Perfect. And also for more information on that, you guys can always go to visitjamaica.com. That is a resource from the government of Jamaica that has all of the different restrictions as well as protocols in place, correct?
And the important travel clearance to get permission to come into Jamaica in the first place is Travel Jamaica.
Yes, exactly. And also for those individuals who are trying to travel to the US, there is currently a requirement to have a negative COVID test, correct?
Right. So Americans can get their COVID test and provide that information to the Jamaican government via their website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bill. And as always, if you guys do have an American in stress or anything that's going on, you can email Kingston ACS at state.gov. That's Kingston ACS, which stands for American Citizen Services, at state.gov. Okay, so we're not receiving too many questions on ACS, but that's okay. I think it's best to just go over for our immigrant visa category. And Bill, I don't know if you know, but recently CDC has issued new guidance on the COVID-19 vaccination
Right.
being required for medicals. So I can talk about that a little bit. For our immigrant visa applicants, after October 1st, it is required that you do have the vaccine for COVID-19 in order for you to receive a proper medical exam from the US, I should say from our panel physicians. You can always, of course, look up more information on that. And that is, once again, for our immigrant visa applicants who are set to do their medical exam after October 1st. That is a new requirement. Okay, so we do have a question. If a US citizen travels and plans to attend their appointment with a spouse, so a lot of times for especially immigrant visa interviews, we do have US citizens who travel to the I should say, who travel to Jamaica to accompany their spouses or children to the interview. So they're asking if the 14-day quarantine is required, or if a negative PCR can be presented 24 hours prior to appointment.
Excellent question. One of the important things to remember is we are guests here in Jamaica when American citizens travel here, and we do need to respect the laws of the country we're guests in, especially when it comes to something so important as the coronavirus pandemic. So we do ask our applicants or persons accompanying our applicants to comply with the Jamaican government's regulations on either having the 14-day quarantine or going through the Jamaican government's process to show a clean COVID test and going through a more curtailed quarantine experience. But we
Yes.
go through one or the other before coming to the embassy, either for your own interview or to support the interview of a family member.
Yeah. And for the most part, I would say to be safe, yes, you would have to quarantine for those 14 days. It's for the safety of course, our applicants, for the officers who are interviewing, for our staff who is doing intake. It is one of the requirements that we do have here. And it is both because of our local restrictions and conditions that we do have to abide by, but also for the safety of those of us here at the embassy and our applicants, because we want to make sure everyone is safe, right? So Nadine is asking, what if the middle name was spelled incorrectly on their CRIBA or passport? How can they get that corrected?
So whenever there's a mistake on either a passport or a consular report of birth abroad or other document, please reach out to us as soon as we can to KingstonACS@state.gov. That's Kingston Alpha Charlie Sierra at state.gov, to let us know what the problem is. And we will make an appointment to receive those documents and make the correction as soon as we can.
Perfect, Bill. So we are starting to come to the end of our time. Is there anything else that you would like our viewers to know?
No, I just really want to thank you for your time and encourage all of our American citizens, if they haven't already done so, please register with the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program at step.state.gov.
Perfect. Bill, it was a joy to have you on the program today. Thank you so much for coming. To our audience, of course, thank you so much for tuning into Consular Conversations, as you guys always do. We look forward to hopefully seeing you guys next month. But until the next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.